Let's go ahead and take our first email question of the night. If I accept a check to get my car fixed, does that eliminate any further claims about paying my medical bills? And that is Tim. Les, that's a frequent early question. We say a lot of times in doing what we do, there are no stupid questions, because we deal with these kind of things every day, and a question like that can seem second nature if you've dealt with these a long time. But when you have that accident and these insurance companies are calling you and trying to throw checks at you, and you're getting all these various calls, emails, texts, you can throw your hands up. What am I supposed to do?
No, that's exactly right. And anytime you have a claim, you're bound to have at least 2 or 3 different types of insurance claims that are associated with one single accident. With one accident, you have a claim for your property damage,
which is what Tim is discussing in his email.
That's correct. You may have an injury claim that may implicate what's called personal injury protection benefits under your policy. Bodily injury liability claim against the at-fault driver, perhaps even an uninsured motorist claim against your own insurance company. All of those are for your injuries. And so, going back to Tim's question, would it extinguish a claim for medical bills by accepting a check for property damage? The answer is, you love the lawyer answer. It could. It depends, because you will have to sign a release most likely. But if you have a property damage claim, you want to make sure that if you do sign a release, it is a property damage release only. That it does not extinguish other claims. If you sign a general release for claims associated with this incident, thinking, well, this is to pay for my car, if you're not careful, you could very easily sign away any claim you might have for medical expenses, lost wages, and things like that. So the devil's always going to be in the details on something like that. You want to read it, and more importantly, you want to talk with a lawyer before signing anything. It doesn't cost you a dime to come and talk to us about something like that, and we can look at it and we can tell you, hey, this is a property damage only release, this is a general release, don't sign that, and we can walk you through the process. And
you don't have to just look at the release. They can get sneaky and try to put language on the check itself, language in a cover letter that comes with the check.
That's right.
And if they have the correct verbiage on there, it could potentially extinguish more than your property damage. But most of the time, the insurance companies don't try to get quite that sneaky. I mean, they do, but you do have those 2 different aspects of the claim. And in the property damage context, as long as everything is on the up and up, there are potential scenarios where you can actually get a check and then get supplements on your property damage. For example, unlike a bodily injury claim where they're only going to pay once and release the entire claim, a property damage claim akin to what many of us had after Hurricane Michael, which was a homeowner's property claim. They don't always know exactly what they're dealing with on the front end. They may get in there and think that there's just a little front end damage that they got to repair. They get in there and they start taking things off, and they're like, oh no, the whole frame is bent. And that totally changes the dynamic, and they can do supplements in that scenario. So it's very, very, very important that you don't sign a release, especially if you're in the repair context, until you know your vehicle's repaired and you know everything's been done, and that you're back into as close to a position as you were before this accident happened.
And you see that a lot, especially with technology improving every single day. Anybody that's had a property damage claim, they advertise, a lot of these insurance companies advertise, take a picture with your phone, take a picture, upload it to the claim, and they will do an assessment of the property damage based on photos that you took. 9 times out of 10, those photos aren't going to come anywhere close to capturing the full damage. Like Ted mentioned, the undercarriage, it'll show a bumper, it'll show a door, a ding-a-door, but it won't show some of the components. It won't show if some of the sensors were damaged. That's usually going to come in the form of a supplemental claim. So in those cases, you may get a little bit of money up front. You don't sign anything. They just send you a check and say, hey, we agree we owe at least this much. And then as the repair process continues, they may discover other things, and they'll pay for those. And so, again, you just don't want to sign anything away without reading it thoroughly. And if you do have any questions, call a lawyer.
Absolutely, because as Les mentioned, in the personal injury world, we do not work on a retainer fee. We do not work on an hourly rate. It's a pure contingency fee basis. So it's best to get that consultation, get the information, get the knowledge so that you are equipped to make a proper decision for you and your family in the scenario that you've been dealt with. Not anything you asked for, not anything you would ever want to deal with. Anytime someone jokingly tells me, man, I wish I had one of those good claims and could take me some money, and then it's not a lotto ticket. Your health is invaluable. You cannot replace it. So please try to drive safe, but in case someone else is not being so careful, make sure that you're properly insured. Because Florida is one of the few states that does not require our citizens to carry bodily injury coverage. So for that reason, Les, what are some of the things that we need to be looking at in our own policies to make sure that we're protected and properly insured if something is to happen to us?